Testing. Blah, 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 blah.
Ready, set, go.
It's time for the Coach Amy and Coach Liz show.
A podcast for endurance athletes by two athletes, two coaches, and a physical therapist.
We are your hosts, Coach Amy
And Coach Liz.
coming to you from
Kansas City.
Good morning, friends.
Hello.
We're back for another episode. Liz, when you it's freezing cold.
It is.
And when it gets a certain temperature, I break out this sweater. I've had it for years. It's kind of old, but this is the second time that you have arrived at my house and said to what I'm wearing.
Yes.
And I want that. And this is the second time that you've come up on the computer before we could start casting and order it.
I did.
Find it, search for it, and then order it.
I did. I had to find. It was like it's an item from. They don't make it like in the store anymore, so I had to find it.
Yes, this is what's impressive.
Yeah. Oh
is
yeah.
that you found it.
Oh yeah. Oh girl, I'm all about. I'm a digger. I'm a finder of the deals and the things.
And it came up so fast. So like now, if just so you know, I'll be reaching out to you if I need something to find something.
I love
a
it.
piece of furniture or something that I have a picture of. I'm putting you on
It's my favorite thing.
Okay. All right. Good. You're very talented.
It's called being really thrifty.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
And then also, yes. So those of you who live in town and know both of us, when you start seeing that Liz's closet looks exactly like mine, you'll know that I was the first one. She's the copycat.
Like Tweedledee and Tweedledum.
Just want to put that out there. Yeah. Did you, when you ordered, like, so there was this jumper, it's this terry cloth jumper, that was the other one.
Yeah.
Did you order the same color as mine?
Yeah.
Oh.
I did. I ordered the exact same thing.
Okay. Well,
immediately.
Here's what we're going to do. We're going to do a picture day, and we're going to do picture day in sweater and picture day in jumper.
Oh my gosh, that's that's exciting.
We know you guys all want to see that, right?
No. Oh, great.
Our one listener.
It'll be like, oh, Liz is out of workout tights for like one picture ever.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I know.
That would be amazing.
Okay.
Okay, so what are we going to talk about today? I had an athlete reach out to me this week. I love this because, you know, if I'm not really thinking about, what topic do I want to talk about on Friday, an athlete will come up with one for me. Like, I don't even have to ask. It's just like whatever question comes across, it's like, that would be, everyone needs to know.
Yeah. And
so we're going to talk about ground contact time. So this athlete reached out to me and said, look at my, and she gave me the screenshot of her Garmin. And
this is, you're talking about running.
Yes, this is about, because ground contact time with swimming.
It's not good. That's not what we're going for, nor is it good for the bike.
Right.
And specifically, you're talking about, explain what it is.
Yes, I'm going to.
Okay.
I will. Okay, so what it is it's how long your foot is in contact with the ground. So the name of it is actually quite clear. Sometimes we come up with weird, strange things that nobody understands, weird vernacular, vocabulary, but this one makes sense. So it's the amount of time that your foot is on the ground, and it's measured in milliseconds. So if you're looking at your Garmin data and you get these numbers that are like 210 or 330, it's in milliseconds. And if you're looking at your Garmin data, you will see like colors. It's lit up in different colors, which is really nice. I like that because when I look at it, I can quickly see, it's in the blue. That's really, really a very low amount of ground contact time. Or it's, dark red, and then we know it's like really long ground contact time. So it's color coded. I like that. But why it is important, and again, we've talked about this before, don't get too caught up in your data, because you can get swirly and twirly and really confused, right? And have it be detrimental because you're too focused on it. But I do think it gives us some good information. So let me tell you a little backstory with this athlete, because she noticed a difference between the right and the left. And we're going to talk about that in a second. But that is what made her reach out to me. Not how long her ground contact time was, but the asymmetry that was there. That was her concern. So let me back up and explain really why we're concerned with it, or why it's a data point that I think is helpful. Because one, it's an indication of efficiency. Okay, the less time that our foot is on the ground, the more efficient we are with the run. Secondly, the longer it's on the ground, the higher the injury risk. Okay, so in my line of work as a coach, helping with efficiency is great. But as a physical therapist, that is something that I do. It's a data point that I will look at with runners who are coming in with the shin splints and the posterior tib tendonitis and the peroneal tendonitis and the hip, all the things, all the running injuries. So I will look at that. Okay, so when you are looking at the data, so let's talk about, like, you're looking at your numbers, whether it's your Garmin app or a different app, okay, telling you what your numbers are. There's an accuracy issue. So the most accurate is going to be a high-speed camera. So when you see research data come out about ground contact times, it's going to usually, that's a high-speed camera. And so then it's going to be a lot more accurate than your Garmin watch or Apple Watch or running app phone. But the strap, the heart rate monitor strap, is going to be more accurate. And as you are, when you work with the athletes on their heart rates, you've noticed that's more accurate for the heart rate, but it also is more accurate for ground contact time, cadence, vertical oscillations, stride length, some of those other measures. There, we've looked this up, and there's a heart rate monitor dash run. So HRM-run, if you're looking that up,
it's a
that
Garmin.
would be a Garmin strap. So anyways.
Well, just to be clear, not all of the heart rate straps will collect this data. So you're talking specifically.
It will collect. Those other things do collect the data, but this one looks like it's specifically helpful for that.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Okay. So, if you guys are interested in that now, you can, even if the data comes from your watch, okay, because it's not like you have to be so, you're not doing research with this. Right. So money, time, think about, is it really worth that investment? Because what you really want to look for is a change. The difference might not be so significant in the actual accuracy that matters. It's the change for you. Yeah.
Well, with heart rate, like the heart rate from the wrist is like it's not generally super accurate yet. But if, for all of the reasons if an athlete's just not going to wear one of the straps, we learn the baseline of the data we have, and then we do look for that shift. So it sounds like it's the same thing here.
I think so.
Yeah.
I know, again, because you're not doing research. It's not like, So, but if you do care and you do want to know, I think it's worth an upgrade there. Okay. So let's talk about, if you're looking at that data, there's some ranges, and the ranges are pretty wide. So that, I think, again, as a plug for not having to be so accurate. So here are just some numbers I'm going to swing out there. 155 milliseconds is very little ground contact time, and that's what you're going to see in those elite athletes. And remember, though, how we know from those elite athletes what that time is a high-speed camera. Okay, so now less than 210 milliseconds is great. Like that's with our general population of runners, that's a good number. A nice efficiency, decreased risk of injury. When we get to 210 to 240 milliseconds, we're still like, hey, yeah, that's pretty good. Good. Okay. Then 241 to 270 is probably, if you're hitting that range of numbers, it might behoove you to have, work on it a little bit. 271 to 300 milliseconds. Now we're on the ground for quite a bit of time when you consider that you're running, and that has need for improvement. So there we're getting down into enough time on there that we want to try to change that. And then if it's greater than 300 milliseconds, I would say lots to work on. Like you are going to be game for like changes.
Room for improvement.
And one of those things that you might care about is your efficiency, your speed, your pace, that kind of thing. But I would say if it's greater than 300 milliseconds, you are happy with your speed, you are happy with your performance, you feel good, you're not having any injuries. Don't make yourself crazy with this.
Yes.
Okay. Don't start introducing, and please work with a coach, because it's not something that there's some things that you can do to work on it. We're going to talk about it. But you don't go cray,
Yeah.
talk to your coach about it.
It's sort of, I mean, I feel like if it's not broken, don't fix it is sort of,
Yes, and
be careful with it.
yes. But if you're a newer runner and you're seeing this, you possibly haven't developed your injury yet, or you have one we talk about this too, where it's like it's lurking back there.
It's lurking.
Yep, and if you've listened to our podcasts or you've seen me in the clinic or talked to Liz, it's like injuries and all this and efficiency it's impacted by so many variables.
Yeah.
This is just one.
Yes.
But I do think it's an important one, and it's really awesome that we have this data now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so back to my athlete's question. She was like, "Oh, there's a difference between the right and the left." If you cut our bodies in half, unless you are a supermodel, you're different on the right and the left, and there are just normal asymmetries, and a difference between the right and the left of like, oh, we're 47% and 52% between right and left. That's not a strong enough difference. Again, thinking about the accuracy too, not, if you look about the differences. So don't worry about that so much. If I'm in the clinic and I'm looking at someone's numbers and I've got a leg that is, having an injury, I might dive into that just a little bit, but otherwise, if you see that asymmetry, don't panic. Just don't panic unless it's really, really, someone would be able to pick it out. And I've seen a runner one time running without bending a knee. He was running the gobbler grind, and it was like he was just swinging this leg around. His ground contact time on the and when I say swinging his leg around, I'm showing you, but you guys can't see it.
I'm like, I got the visual though. It's nice.
We had a kind of a normal push off on one leg, but the other one, it was like he couldn't bend his knee apparently, and so he swung it out to the side like in an arc to get it to come forward. Well, imagine the ground contact time on that the leg that was functioning, right? Was probably very high and little on the right, because whatever it was hurting, and he wasn't spending time on it. So basically, he was limping, and you can visually see that, and then that number would show up as a significant difference on the ground contact time. So again, don't panic about any asymmetries you see. But let's talk about ways to minimize the ground contact time. So to decrease the time and to make your changes if that is something that you feel it will be helpful to you. And I'm going to say this, strength of the hips and ankles. I mean, we need to be working on that anyway. We have talked about that so many times.
I know. It's like everything.
It's strength, right? If you don't have the stability, and we've talked about that before, how that affects your efficiency. Well, ground contact time is one of the things that's a number that is, you'll notice is, larger when you don't have the strength and control of the pelvis, the hips, the ankles. Okay, so I think that's an easy one.
Yeah. To
say. Harder sometimes for athletes to do. And then form work. This is my favorite. And, I've been doing that run clinic for a while now. And when the athletes are working on how they're driving their run, the whole the hip driver, I think we've had a podcast about that, pushing the ground away from you. That will help decrease your ground contact time. There's something, and I hesitate to say this, it's called ankle stiffness, but that doesn't mean that you don't move your ankle, okay? It just means that you have you make a good spring out of your ankle. This is a really hard one to tell you about. It's one you really I need to show you, and we need to work on, and we need to find the right verbal cue for you. But I just want to put that out there, that how important the ankle foot complex is. And then, but there is a kind of a visual imagery, verbal cue that I do think helps in general for ground contact time. And that is, we've talked about this many times before too, that pre-acting. So it's activating those muscles just a split second before you land on the ground. Basically, you pretend kind of like you are running on hot coals or needles, and that'll help you pick up that foot right off the ground and decrease the ground contact time. So if you don't do any of the other things, don't learn any of the other form adjustments, that's a good one to do as soon as you start doing that. The other thing that I like, and it was interesting with this athlete, she was so funny because I said, hey, you know what, one of the things is to work on because, when we looked at her numbers, and I was like, okay, don't worry about the asymmetry here, but let's look at the ground contact time, which is in the red zone, and where we're saying, hey, it needs work, right? I had already given her a lot of cadence work to start to develop that. Yes, it's the cadence.
Like, do I ask about cadence or do I not?
Yes, cadence is the thing. And so I was like, well, as it as it happens, we've already been working on it. And she was like, oh, good, but it was like the cadence is, I think it's a good place to work on it. That's something you can, listen to music with, you can count, you can work on it. So that you improve your cadence, you're going to improve your ground contact time. And that's just an easy one to start with, because you're not going to look at your watch and see with every step what your ground contact time is. It's an after, it's an after. Oh, after the run, how did it look? But with the cadence, that is something that you can, you can set beats to it. You can count, you can work on that during a run. And then my last point here is just that with experience, there's some things you can work on, but with experience, ground contact time tends to improve. Especially in sort of things like if you're doing some speed work drills, it will come. If you're working on this and you already have some experience, or as you gain your experience, you will notice that when you get tired, it's going to go pfft. So this athlete who's working on this, she came in with her numbers, and we looked at her numbers, and it was like, all her shorter runs during the week in the green, and her speed work in the green, and maybe even into the purple, like really good, right? But her long run, it started out great and then went, blah, And so, again, don't freak out when you see that as you work on your fatigue with running, as you work on your workouts and your long runs, and as you get stronger and gain more endurance, you're going to be able to transition with less ground contact time for a longer period of time during that run.
That is.
Yeah. So, yeah. What, do you have any questions, Deanna?
Well, I just have a note.
Oh,
because,
a note?
Well, because as you're talking about how that changes as you get tired.
The triathlete.
The triathlete, and
500 milliseconds.
Right. And so
The walk,
this is
the
an
shuffle.
Excellent point.
Yes.
Because when I get runners who come into the sport of triathlon and they think, that there's no difference. Yeah. And grasshoppers, there's a big difference.
Yeah.
And especially when you get into some of the longer triathlons, it's much more like you would see for ultra running.
Yes.
Or, that's a very different, so just something to keep in mind, because you're looking for a much more durable, sustainable, run form that is going to have some differences than if you were really working on pure running. Just a note.
Yeah. Excellent.
Thanks so much for listening. And remember,
we are in this together. Until next time.